prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value.
But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
This is Sales Logic. Mark, today is a really big day. It is a really big show. Tell the audience what we're celebrating.
It's our anniversary. It's our birthday. It was 6 years ago, February 17th, 2020, that we launched our first show of Sales Logic podcast. Hey, how's that? We've been around for 6 years. Man, I think we've aged pretty well, don't you? I mean,
yeah, it's kind of amazing when you think about it. I think you said February 17th, 2020. It was just before the world completely changed, before we went on lockdown with COVID. And here we are 6 years later, still doing this every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern.
you know what's interesting is we didn't start out Saturday mornings. You were the one that prompted us to say, hey, we can't find a time to schedule. Remember that? I remember we were a little herky-jerky on getting shows out, and you said, Mark, we got to find a common time. And we said, Saturday mornings is probably the only time that you and I are available. And that's probably a huge lesson. Consistency. You've said that time and time again. Consistency wins when it comes to sales. Thank you, Bryn. We love you. Appreciate it. Happy birthday. You're right. Terry
Brooks. Yeah, Terry's here too. Saying thank you so much. I think if it's a lesson in anything, I think that being very, very consistent, it's probably the one of the most important, as well as I always say, one of the sexiest words in sales. So Mark, what have been some of the highlights for you?
Well, I think the highlight has been just that consistency, and along with that, accountability. You and I were joking about this the other day. How long would we have continued this if I really don't want to do the show? Mayor's going to be pissed at me if I don't do the show, if I'm not ready. And you've said the same thing. And it is amazing how accountability is so critical in sales. So I think that's two big takeaways: consistency, accountability.
Yeah, I think those are incredibly important. I also think a big highlight too has been really listening to the audience and engaging the audience in the process, which I think is a huge sales lesson, right? I mean, you can't just come on a podcast or go on a sales call and talk about anything you want to talk about. You've got to be paying attention to the trends, what the customers are interested in, and for us, what our listeners are interested in. So Mark, I was trying to figure out, and I couldn't figure it out from looking at our past episodes. When did we come up with the methodology of starting with a topic, a book, a lightning round? Do you know?
I can't remember, but I remember we hired a gentleman to help us. Again, you got to look to experts. Remember, we hired a gentleman who kind of gave us the theme and kind of gave us the name. I'm not sure when we came up with that format exactly. He kind of helped us a little bit, but it was, I think, from pretty early on. Then we got the great bumper video that we open with, and the voiceover, and it just seems to work. But again, I think you got to listen and talk to other people. Again, this is the whole thing about sales. And it's why I enjoy doing the show with you, because every week you challenge my thinking, and hopefully I challenge your thinking.
Absolutely.
And it makes us better. It makes us better as salespeople. And it comes back to your thing of listening. Listen.
Yeah. One of the episodes I remember was I had a speaking engagement on the big island of Hawaii. And I remember waking up at 2:30 a.m. And I remember my husband was with me, so I didn't want to do the podcast from the room. So I walked down into this open air place, and in my pajamas with my hair on top of my head, not a stitch of makeup on my face, and doing that podcast at 3 a.m. from the big island of Hawaii.
That's what's funny, because if you think about the countries that we have done and areas and time zones that we've done it from, I mean, we've done it from Japan, Philippines, Lithuania. We were both in Lithuania together. Yeah. Remember we did that show there? And Hawaii, you've been in Hawaii at 2:30. I've been in Hawaii at 2:30 in the morning. It's obscene. But again, you know what that also demonstrates? Another thing regarding sales. It's showing up.
Yeah.
Showing up for the meeting. I mean, you got a sales call, you got a sales presentation, you got to show up, you got to be there.
You know,
This is
yeah, I think that's so important. I was on stage this week at an event really early in the week, and they asked if they could do a little Q&A after. So sat down to do Q&A, and the CEO of the company was interviewing me, and he asked me a question. He said, you know, their whole theme was around being a legend, and he said, at the end of 2026, if somebody has become a legend, what have they done differently? What have they done differently than everybody else in this, in this room? What is the one thing? And I thought to myself, if I had to boil it down to one thing, and it has to do with everything we're just talking about, is that you do what you don't want to do because it is the right thing to do. I mean, it would be so easy, right? To say, Mark, you're on the big island of Hawaii, you're there with Anne, you're there on a little vacation. I'm not going to do the podcast. I mean, heck, you were celebrating your wedding anniversary in Italy and we did the podcast. But it's about showing up to do what you don't want to do. And I think that's so critical in sales, that people who are really good at sales, I mean, you don't want to make a sales call on a Saturday, or you've taken a red eye and you're tired the next day. So you don't want to do a sales call, but you do it anyway. You've hit your pipeline for the month. So the truth is you can just quit for the month. But people who really succeed in sales do what needs to be done, and they do it anyway, even on the days that you don't feel like doing it.
That is so well said. And I think that's the key. You have to keep going because, again, the top people, the top performers, they just always find a way to keep going. And you're right, red eye. You used the word red eye. You had a couple more red eyes this week. I mean, we all find ourselves. Last night, I was on a coaching call until midnight. And it's just the way it is. That's, the gentleman I coach. And you do things because it's the right thing long term. And I think that's one of the key things, that top performing salespeople look past the short term pain because they realize there's a long term gain. I think you take that in terms of your workouts, right? Your tennis game, your golf game. You do so many things, short term pain, but you know it's going to help you long term.
Or I think even, when you're talking about that, I was thinking about this the other day too, and I think it's so critical for sales. And I think it really applies to the celebration of 200 shows here, is I think it's short-term failure for long-term gain. It's taken me, I started playing tennis when I was 55. I'm 62 right now. It's taken me 7 years to hit my forehand consistently. And I'm not even going to promise that I hit my forehand consistently. But I was thinking about this. I played in a game the other day. I came home. I told Rob I hit my forehand. I was so excited. And I hit it without being shy about it. But I had to fail so much at it. And I think about these beginning shows of Sales Logic. We couldn't find a time. We didn't have a format. It just wasn't good. And we didn't have near the audience participation. And audience, I've got Terry Brock up here right now, Gina Carr, Bryn Tillman. How many of you show up, Jack Hubbard, every single week? And you make this show so much better. But let me tell you, that is not how it started. And I think a lot of times salespeople can't make it through the failure to get to really get the win.
There's a lesson there, because I think what happens is we over prepare for that first event. And you and I remember the first show. And at first, it doesn't, right? Nobody listened to it. And I remember the guy we hired to help us with the show. He said, nobody's going to listen to the first few shows, so don't worry about it. And I think that's the thing, that we in sales, it's so easy for salespeople to think, I can't make that call. I'm not prepared. And yeah, we talk about you want to be prepared. I get it. But you just got to go. You got to go. And you got to realize that it's about getting the reps in. You and I are on the stage a lot. And you look at how our stage performance has changed over the last 5, 10, 15 years. It dramatic. You got to put in the reps. And this is what so many salespeople just fail to put the reps in to make it happen.
Yeah, I love what Terry Brock is saying here. Very important to focus on what the audience wants. Perplexity tasks gives you a customized read on what is happening with your target market. Nice tools to make that happen. Gosh, Terry and Gina always have the greatest suggestions. And Bryn, we appreciate you so much too. You know, you talk about we talk about failure and things at the end, but I think there is so much to be said for staying in the game, right? For just being around. I think part of being successful at sales is lasting longer than everybody else. Are you willing to continue to come back and back and back until you find the right recipe and basically break through? You know, I think a great example of this is if you take your favorite television shows. I mean, some of the best television shows of all time. I think like Seinfeld is like the number one television show of all time here in the States. And you go back to the very first episode and it's terrible. It's really, really, really bad because the only way to get good at something is to continue to do it.
You know, and that brings up another point. You got to hang out with really great people. You got to hang out. And again, this is why I appreciate doing the show with you, because I view you as incredibly brilliant and insightful. And when you surround yourself, Jim Rohn, we've used this line a lot. You've used this line, I've used it. Jim Rohn said the line, you become the sum of the 5 people you associate with the most. Pick your friends carefully. And that's so true. And again, this is why we love doing the show live, because there's so much brilliant. Hey, Isaac, thank you for saying happy to be here from Paris. Love it. Love it that we reach such a global audience. And that's what's cool, because again, if you think about sales, it's not it truly is a global community. Hey, we should jump to the question. And the question really came from April in Toledo. She just says, hey, congratulations on Sales Logic. What are your favorite moments or lessons? That's what we're talking about here. So, hey, have you got a favorite episode that you think back on, or you want me to share one, or what?
Well, I was thinking about this and I went back to our episodes this week. I was looking at everything we've done. And here's I don't know that I have a favorite episode, but I go back to one of the very first ones we did. And one of the very first ones we did, it just kind of makes me laugh now. It's about taking your sales strategy or your sales process online. And we did that way back in 2020 when we all went into this COVID mode and we had to do everything virtually. And it's funny how, looking at that episode, it's just become what we do naturally and normally now, right? And then I think a couple of years after that, we came out of COVID, we did another episode about bringing it offline and taking it back out into the marketplace and selling live again, which was uncomfortable for so many of us because we'd been behind a screen for 2 years.
You know, again, a lot of lessons there. Adapting to what the marketplace is looking for. You've got to listen to the marketplace and adapt to it. And initially, it can seem strange. It can seem weird. You and I both get this question. How do you guys do this podcast every week? And, you know, it's just routine. I almost could not think of a Saturday morning without doing the podcast. It just happens. And again, there's something to be said that it can seem wonky, weird at first, going back to that whole thing that it's painful short term, but then it becomes routine. And Sales Logic for us has become kind of like exercising a muscle. We work out every day, you do your thing, and you just do it. You don't think twice about it. And that's, again, what I think top performing salespeople, which takes me to the number one show we have ever had was back in, I got my notes here, March 21st of 2023. The best sales advice ever. I guess people just want to cut to the chase, right? They just want to know the best sales advice. But this is what I love about the show. And this is what I love about the audience. We're constantly learning. And I'd have to say, I need to go back and listen to that show. But it's had so many thousands and thousands of downloads. It's been unbelievable. That we continually evolve. And what we think was great at one point, we move on. But again, it's the evolution. of what we do.
Yeah. I got to tell you, one of my favorite shows we did that we just did in 2025, so it's not even that long ago, but that was the one that we did on winning over the CFO. And I think that was a really important episode because I think that's probably one of the biggest ways that sales has changed today. And that is understanding that in a tight marketplace, and we're in a tight market place, is that understanding that you're not just selling to the person that you're connecting with. Everything is going to go through the CFO right now. And I think that was, if I were going to go back and listen, that was one episode I would probably go back and listen to. Another one I really loved, Mark, was the one that we did on the fact that AI is not going to replace you. It is going to replace your sales process. And I think that's an important episode as well.
And again, you think about that. Those topics probably would never have come up 6 years ago when we
Right.
began the show. But again, we evolved to it. And this is, again, you've got, and this is one of the things that I challenge salespeople. I was with a group this week and I was challenging them. Says, what are you reading? What are you listening to? What are you doing to continually up your game? Bryn says it well. It's sales legends are built when discipline, curiosity, and courage show up every day. You're right. That is so true. And then she ends it with, especially when results do not, because you're right.
Yeah.
You don't get results every day, but you
So well
stay
said,
in the game.
Bryn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great quote here, Bill King. And Mark, I got to tell you, I think if I had to say really what's made this show successful is I don't think it's you. I don't think it's me. I think it is the audience. God, you all chime in every single week with the best sales advice that we get to feature you right here on the show. And Bill King says, reminds me of the quote, success consists of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. Bill, that's like a mic drop because I think I was just listening to a podcast this morning. I get up in the morning, I meditate, and then I listen to something educational for like 30 minutes. And I was listening to this podcast this morning, which was talking about some of the most successful people in our recent history. And it is amazing how many of them failed and failed and failed and failed. And it's a lot like Sales Logic Podcast. You just keep doing it until you get it right.
Yeah, it's so funny because again, I was looking at some of the stats. Our very first episode, we've had 61 downloads. Big, 61 downloads. Hey, that really gets exciting. And it's funny because again, you and I get asked podcasts, and say, yeah, you're going to do it for the first couple of years, and nobody's going to listen. Not even your mother is going to listen to your podcast. I mean, you have to stay in the game. And again, in the face of failure. I mean, how many times could we have said, screw it, it's not working, stop, but you keep going. It's amazing. Failure on top of failure, as long as you're learning something, eventually takes you to success.
Yeah, Gina Carr asks a great question here. How do you efficiently plan the shows each week? Gina, I love this question because it's really changed quite a bit. At the beginning, like it used to be a matter of, we always start with the customer question, with the listener question is where it always starts. And sometimes those come in through the podcast website, saleslogicpodcast.com. Sometimes they come from a question that somebody has asked Mark or asked me during the week. And then we used to build the show around that. Now you're going to be very happy to hear that once we know the question and the topic. So what we want with Sales Logic is for it to be highly relevant. And so it always starts with an actual question that is being asked. But now we use ChatGPT quite a bit to help build the show a lot. A lot of the book recommendations come from books that Mark and I read. We're both voracious readers, and we try to pick out something that is relevant to the topic, but also to something that we have read that we can recommend that we know is going to be good and a high quality for the reader.
That brings up something. What are you reading? I mean, you've got to be continuously reading. I've got a stack of books here that are just on my Kindle, just that I can't keep up with the reading. But again, I have to force myself to keep reading. Hey, Jack, great hearing from you. When you focus on the client, you become a sales legend in their mind, not yours. So well spoken. Who cares what we think? Who cares what we ourselves think? It's what our customers think. That's what it is. And that's where I think it's that air of humility. It's that air of humbleness that we are here to serve the customer. We're here to serve you, the audience. And out of that, things happen, and we're appreciative.
Yeah, Jack Hubbard, you are a sales legend in my mind. I got to tell you, Mark, one of the most fun things for me has been about this show is the fact that, and I know you experience it as well. I don't care where I go to speak right now. Somebody from the audience walks up and tells me that they watch the show, they listen to the show, they've got their team listening to the show. That is so amazing. And I just want to comment on the fact that our very first episode, 61 people downloaded it. Think about that. Like, you can think about that as a failure, but my God, 61 people took time out of their busy schedule to listen to us. I think that is amazing. And for that, I am so incredibly grateful.
Yeah, and you just keep building it. And you're right. I mean, I can't go into any event now with people don't. And again, appreciate all of you who reach out to us and say, hey, have us come speak at your respective sales event. Love that. Always love it when you do that. So again, yes, this generates business for us, but it's more special when you walk in and you find people, or you find people. I had this happen to me the other day. I was doing it. It was a day and a half event, and I mentioned it, or the VP of sales mentioned the podcast. Several people caught episodes that night, and the next morning at breakfast said, hey, caught that episode. So this Meredith Elliott Powell, again, and we love that, because again, it creates fans. It creates subscribers who are learning, and that's what we want. We don't want fans. We want people who are going to learn and apply.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's who the show is about, right? Mark, do we have a book today?
We were going to say that, hey, what is your favorite sales book, and what's my favorite sales book? And I'm going to jump in right here, because it's the book I talk a lot about, Atomic Habits by James Clear. This show would not have made it without James Clear, Atomic Habits, which is just stacking those little habits on top of one another. So that's my favorite book that I recommend. Have you got one?
Yeah, it is the book that I make every single coaching client I ever work with. We always start with this book. And I love this book. I think it is the most powerful and most important sales book ever written. And it was written in the 1930s. It is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I love the fact that we live in this AI high-tech world, but the book that is the most powerful, in my opinion, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Because if you want to understand sales, you have got to understand that at the end of the day, sales is and will always be a relationship business.
That is so true. And again, AI and all that stuff out there,
Important.
it just does not matter at all. Again, it's just, it's relationships, it's people. And I think the more AI, the stronger AI becomes, the more important the relationship is going to be. Hey, Terry, thank you so much. Keep up the good work. Looking forward to the next 200. Yeah, you're right.
We are too.
This thing doesn't end. This thing doesn't end. And I'll tell you what, Mayor and I were talking about this, I don't know, about a month ago when we were together. Our numbers are just exponentially growing. It's unbelievable. I had set a goal, Mayor, and I'm the optimist, and Mayor set a goal that was even higher. Now it looks like we're going to go blow past Mayor's even higher goal.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely fantastic. So,
yeah.
We should do a lightning round, but I'm not
Yes.
sure what we should do the lightning round on. I would like to say, hey, what are a couple tips that you would share? Because the number one downloaded thing was the best sales advice ever. So what would be the best sales advice that you think people should take away that you do in your job? Because again, you're incredibly successful. What are those little tips that Mayor does to be successful?
All right. And you got to share what are the tips that
Yeah.
Mark, who is incredibly. All right. So I think one of the most important sales tips, and we've said it here quite a bit, is that you've got to be consistent. Whatever you do, you've got to do every single day, whether you feel like doing it or not.
I'm going to add, it's how you start the day. It's an absolute consistent discipline in how you start the day.
Yeah. Number 3, I'm going to say absolutely. You've got to build your network. You've got to build your network inside your company. You've got to build your network in your community, and you've got to build your network inside your industry.
Number 4, you've got to be willing to be held accountable. You have to be held accountable to somebody who's going to hold you, just as we do here with Sales Logic.
Yeah. Number five, you got to sell from that place of power. You have to qualify the prospect. Be very, very careful about who you give your time to.
Number six, create a sphere of influence. Create that mastermind group. Create that group because you do become the sum of the five people you associate with the most.
Yeah. Is this number six? Number six is you've got to, is that right? I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway.
you would be number seven. It's okay.
Number
It's okay.
7. Okay. Number 7, I get so into the advice, I forget what number we're on. Number 7 is that you have to realize that you have to be an expert. Whatever industry you're selling in or whatever you're selling around, you need to understand it better than the person you're selling to.
Number 8, stop trying to close sales and work on opening relationships. Open relationships is going to create tremendous opportunities for you downstream.
Yeah, I think some of the best sales advice is be quiet. Just be really, really quiet and really listen. If you pay attention, people will tell you what they want, when they want it, how they want it, and what they'd be willing to pay for it.
And number 10, don't stop. Keep going. At times, it can feel like it's absolutely dark out there, but just remember, just tomorrow, one more day, one more day. Jeffrey Bezos said that very early on. Amazon didn't look like it was going to make it. And he said, it's just one more day, and you eventually compound success. Absolutely great show. How do we end this show? How do we end this? I mean, this is actually the 272nd episode we are recording here today, February 7th,
Mark,
anniversary.
Here's how I think we end the show, is that this show is successful for one reason. And it is successful for the audience. It is amazing to me that all of you show up on Saturday morning at 8 a.m. You don't just show up at Saturday morning at 8 a.m. You jump into that chat and you share great advice. And I think it's the best way to end this episode because that is what sales is about, right? It is giving. The people that show up here that are the experts every week, those of you who download the episode, you're givers. And the one thing that I think Sales Logic can hang its hat on is the fact that if you invest in others, they will turn around and invest in you. And we are here because you invest in us. And for that, we are very, very grateful. You make this show successful.
I'll add one more piece to that. Share it with a friend, would you? Because again, sales is about helping others, and we do hope that you share Sales Logic. And make sure you're downloading it, whether it be on Apple Music, whether it be Spotify, whatever. Leave us some comments, because I think that's how we're getting the exponential growth. People are leaving comments on Spotify, and that's good. Sales is a community. We're excited to be part of it. Mayor, it's a pleasure to continuously work with you every week, every Saturday morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you. What a great episode. So if you want to be featured right here on Sales Logic, and we would love for you to be featured on Sales Logic, reach out to Mark, reach out to me, send us a question. Tell us what you want the show to be about. How can we be of more value to you? And remember, rate the show, review the show. And if you're looking for somebody to come into your organization, do a sales presentation, look to Mark, look to me. And always remember, join us right back here next week for another episode of Sales Logic. We'll see you at 8 a.m. Eastern for episode number 270 something. Right, Mark?
Right. Something like that.
All right. We'll see you right back here next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye.